Morning. You ever had one of those workouts planned that just are so heinous and evil you just dread doing them? In fact, they're so bad you're on the inside, your inside voice looks like this. Yeah, today's that day for us. Today you're going to witness an FTP test. Today you're going to witness a near-death experience. You'll see a war face. Today we're going to go so deep in the hurt locker you're going to see Narnia. Hopefully what you won't see is my breakfast for the second time today. So what is an FTP test? FTP test is a measure of, estimated measure of your wattage output on the bicycle. How many watts you can average for a whole hour. So why am I doing an FTP test? Well, we've talked about SMART goals. I don't think we need to rehash that again. Last video I did, we talked about R being relevant and how we've had to adapt and change what's relevant. Today, we're going to talk a little about M, and M was measurable. So how are we going to measure our improvement? So obviously we can do, the old fitness tracker thing and track weight and heart rate and resting heart rate and, all the stuff that goes with that and that matrix. So this is going to be kind of a baseline test, and in 4 or 5 weeks we'll do another FTP test to see if the wattage has gone up or not. Okay, so I have warmed up for not quite a half hour. Once we start this FTP test, I'll show you my screen and kind of walk you through everything I see and the data I'm getting and the feedback. So FTP test we talked about. It's a good way to track if you're getting fitter or faster on the bike. The other importance to me is my FTP score is what will rank me when I finally get the chance to race online. It's just a way to try to eliminate sandbaggers and that kind of thing. So a bigger, stronger rider is going to have a higher wattage number than a smaller rider. Right about now you're probably asking yourself, well, how do smaller riders keep up with bigger ones? Well, strength to weight ratio is key. What we do when we get that final wattage number is we divide that by the number of kilograms I weigh and get a watts per kilo number. And that will show you the strength weight ratio of a rider no matter their size. So that's the other reason we're doing this. So we're in the first ramp of the test, 100 watts. This test is super easy in the beginning. When it turns on you hard and fast. On the screen, some things to pay attention to. As we go, it'll step up 20 watts per step. 2 rules for me on the test. I'm supposed to stay seated the whole time. As it gets tougher, that takes a little bit of discipline. The other thing is to try to maintain 80 to 95 RPMs. As things get tougher, you'll see the RPMs drop off drastically. Started to feel my legs a little bit, but it's nothing I can't do for a long sustained period of time. The other thing you'll notice, at the bottom of the screen, that thin red line, that's my heart rate, and you'll notice from left to right at the bottom of the screen, going from gray to blue to green to yellow. That's basically my exertion level, how much energy I'm putting out. After yellow you see orange and then red, basically DEFCON 5. Starting to really struggle to maintain average. My wattage is going up and down. I'm hitting the average for the minute, but I'm not staying on the number I want very well. Alright, notice the heart rate's come up in 170s. Now we're starting to work pretty good here. Struggling to maintain that average. Barely got my RPMs into the range they want. I wouldn't say I'm all in Hurt Locker yet, but heart rate's any indication, we're not far. All right, 300 watts, burning pretty good. So we separate the adults from the children. Oh, I need RT. Hope you're all treatment, please, Dad. All right, thanks for hanging out to this point. Now, if you made it this far, you gave this video a thumbs up, what's that say about you if you actually like watching someone suffer? I don't know about you guys. Anyway, all kidding aside, as you can see on the graphic on the screen, FTP was 258. I walked into this gonna be totally happy with anything above 230 to 240 watts. So I'm pretty stoked about 258 watts with minimal training and riding. Now for reference, keep in mind 1 horsepower is 746 watts. So you can see I'm well below that, unless you look at my 5-second power, which is just over 1 horsepower for 5 seconds. The one thing I would kind of keep in mind and look at, maximum heart rate, 217 beats per minute. I put an asterisk next to that. When I looked at the graphic bar chart that went with my heart rate over the FTP test, there was no gradual climb to 217. It popped right up 217 from, I don't know, about 195. I have seen 203 the last time in the FTP test. So being over 200 is not out of the question, but 217 I think is going to be an anomaly on this one. Had a question from a fellow employee, Butch, this is for you, buddy, who asked me what the average wattage for a pro is. To just throw out wattages, you're kind of painting with a big, wide paintbrush. So we need to look at the watts per kilogram for those guys. So I looked up, and some of you who watched the tour may recognize these two names. Egon Bernal is the first one, whose FTP is 383 watts. He's 59 kilograms in weight, which brings his weight per kilogram ratio to 6.5. So over twice what I can do at this moment in time. Matthew Vanderpool, who is the other side of the spectrum of a pro cyclist, bigger side, 485 watts. He's 75 kilograms, and so that brings his watts to kilo ratio to 6.46. So even though Egon's actually smaller, his strength to weight ratio is actually a little bit bigger than Matthew Vanderpool's. On the graphic, I included my 5-second power, 1 minute, 5-minute, and 20-minute power. Now when I did the math, randomly looking at UCI Pro Tour guys, all their numbers for those categories were averaging about twice what I can do. So those guys are bona fide animals. So there's the data. If you have any further questions, feel free to comment down below and answer anything you've got. 2 ways we try to improve this number, the wattage, the FTP number, is 1, get a stronger motor, which means a lot of intervals in my future, and 2, to actually drop some pounds, because that will change that strength to weight ratio. And that is your introduction to FTPs. Thanks for hanging out. Comment, like, subscribe, and we'll see you soon.